So this week I thought it was really interesting to see what other people were interested in and what media they chose. So I thought that was really cool. I really liked all of the media presented, so it was hard to choose which ones to respond to. But in the end, I chose Dear White People, that Megan chose, and Emily's pick, Queer Eye. I also am very familiar with Master of None and The Office. When reading other people's responses, I really liked what Megan said about using humor and sarcasm to discuss uncomfortable subjects. I think this is something we're seeing more and more of in the media, and this is used in everything except the particular part of Queer Eye that we're discussing. By depicting these seemingly outrageous scenes that are even just uncomfortable to watch for the viewers, I think it can help something click that these uncomfortable moments happen all the time for these people. Like when Sam was looked at to talk about racism being the only, and talked about slavery being the only black person in class, or when Michael just continuously tells Billy how brave he is just for doing day-to-day normal tasks. This may be overemphasized in this media to get the point across for the humor, but these situations do happen, and I think that using humor just emphasizes kind of how ridiculous it is. And when you're watching it from the outside, it's obvious how ridiculous it is. This also attracts a wider audience. People who maybe wouldn't actively seek out things like this are watching it because of the humor, and it kind of at least puts them in a situation where they're consuming this. People who don't want to feel like they're maybe being lectured at, they can enjoy the humor while also learning something and kind of seeing these situations for what they are, which is just outrageous. The conversation in Queer Eye had a very serious tone, which I think was really necessary in the situation. Even though it's a fun and kind of humorous show, they shed light on a very serious and prevalent conversation, and I'm glad they didn't just brush it off or turn it into a joke. So it was a nice change to see this interaction because usually in the media, this isn't really what's shown. I think that today we focus so much on the differences of people and the differences between everyone that we simply don't try to relate to one another anymore. And we need to find a healthy balance of this, of recognizing the differences but also finding common ground, or we're going to keep becoming more and more divided. We need to accept and realize that people are different in so many ways, but put even more focus on how we're all the same and that we want to kind of bond with this human connection. I strongly believe that most people will be good if we give them the chance to be. This isn't always true, but I think that the more people get educated and make connections with people, that just helps the cause. We need to open the door of communication and not just slam it in the face of someone who we may not agree with at the face of things. This may not solve all the world problems, and I definitely don't think it will, but if it makes people feel even a little more connected, it's worth doing. And if we do this, we will begin to stop generalizing people, which Stephanie mentioned in her response, and I definitely agreed with. Last but not least, in The Master of None, Zach's response really stuck out to me. I like that he described fair and accurate representation as media portraying characters through their actions and not just as their race, gender, class, sexuality, and so on and so forth. While these could be essential parts to what makes a character their identity, there are so many more interesting things that a person has in their just in their personality. So I think that this goes along with what I said earlier about it being problematic in society to focus on these things all of the time. Someone who happens to be one of these things or in whatever category, that's probably not the most interesting thing about them. And people may not look beyond that and begin to see the complex human they are. We kind of group them and generalize them and assume they're one way just because of their maybe outward appearance or how they look. We should always try to get to know everyone a little better and just not assume that what meets the eye is always there. I think that was kind of a common theme in all of these. Just like how in The Office, Billy talks about, his girlfriend, and Michael assumes that was his nurse or she used to be in a wheelchair or whatever. People have complex, serious lives that have to deal with this discrimination all the time. Thank you.